We're still learning about this body. What if I told you that a condition affecting 1 in 8 women had a name that didn't even describe what it really was? This name wasn't slightly outdated or technically incomplete. It was outdated in a way that shaped how healthcare systems viewed it, understood it, and even how patients were treated. For decades, this condition was called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic meaning multiple cysts, ovarian means related to the ovaries, and syndrome means a collection of symptoms. But in May 2026, an international consensus of researchers, clinicians, as well as patient organizations proposed something slightly different. They wanted one letter changed. PMOS, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. Here's a snippet from the Lancet. The term PCOS is inaccurate, implying pathological ovarian cysts, obscuring diverse endocrine and metabolic functions, and contributing to delayed diagnosis, fragmented care, etc. Building on an international mandate for change, we outlined an unprecedented, rigorous, multi-step global consensus process for the name change. So basically, the name change was heavily driven by patient advocacy to better reflect the true nature of this condition. Pretty huge milestone, right? However, reaching this name though took 14 long years, even though the research that had been conducted had already been hinting towards a larger point of view. So why does medicine move this slowly even when our understanding moves faster? It's not because the disease has suddenly changed or because science is slow in general. It's probably because changing a name means changing research around it, changing guidelines around it, changing the mental models built around it, education, and that's a messy web, I guess, not a lot of people are willing to take. So before we talk about the new name, we need to learn about the old one. PCOS has long been understood as a condition that affects more than just the ovaries. It was described as a heterogeneous metabolic endocrine condition that can include multiple different body systems. Moreover, researchers also suspect that PCOS has many biological subtypes rather than just one singular system. So different mechanisms, different risks, different outcomes, and different futures. For many people, PCOS can include irregular or absent ovulation, elevated androgen levels, insulin resistance, and altered metabolic regulation, as well as long-term cardiometabolic risks. With all that being established, here's one fact that still makes people surprised. Not everyone having PCOS will have cysts that are visible on imaging, or cysts or problematic cysts on their ovaries at all. So that is why the name of a disease matters much more than we think, right? So the disease name didn't describe the entire disease, it only described one possible feature. Apart from the incomplete biology, the name of a disease will also directly or indirectly impact what gets researched, what specialists get involved, what gets measured, and even what gets reimbursed. So in this case, if a condition is primarily framed through the ovaries, clinical attention may stay just at the ovary level. But now that we found out that systematic risks, metabolic risks, and endocrine risks are still central to even some of the presentations, that changes the question that medicine will ask. So research bias would translate for patients into something like symptoms that don't fit expectations, or being told that your scans look fine when there's clearly something wrong with your body. This would not only lead to delayed diagnosis, but to a personal confusion where the patient would feel like they don't understand what is wrong with them, without knowing that the category itself is still evolving. This confusion changed how I think about the world of research breakthroughs. Once I started reading about this, I realized that this pattern wasn't unusual at all. Take PMS.
Flashback.
Even today, common women's health-related issues and conditions continue to be revised, debated, subclassified, and reinterpreted, which raises an uncomfortable question. If medicine is still refining how it understands something as common as PMOS or PMS, why did we halt and assume for so long that conditions like PMOS were fully understood? This is where naming would become political. Historically, women's health research has been underfunded, studied through narrower frameworks and experimental models, angle, or simply interpreted primarily through the reproductive angle. This means that women's health has never been holistic or even prioritized. Any kind of research bias stemming from sexism or even ethnicity simply does not capture everyone equally. And I reiterate, that has been the case historically. So what if we started thinking about the research gaps with the intention to progress or correct field views? Like, maybe the pioneers who fought the system to change the name of a pretty serious disease is what's going to make a difference. So medicine is finally beginning to ask whether the conditions we inherited still describe the biology we see. We must therefore be open to the fact that future classifications may re-evolve again. And maybe that is the story. Not that medicine failed, but that we're still learning about this body and there's a long way to go.